one of the other big stories this week, and there were many, but the standoff between Anthropic and the government has been a story that everyone has watching. Walk us through a little bit of what you've been paying attention to in this story, and what the most interesting parts are for you.
Well, we've kind of seen this drama play out between the Department of War, the Pentagon on the one hand, and Anthropic over the past, I don't know, 1 to 2 weeks, where the Department of War is demanding that Anthropic sort of hand over its AI technology with no restrictions on the Pentagon's ability to use it in warfare. Anthropic is among the AI labs out there the most has the most is the most outspoken, shall we say, on safeguards. They don't want their technology used in mass domestic surveillance or for autonomous weapons. Now, there's a deadline tonight that the DOW has established for Anthropic to kind of agree to its demands, and if it doesn't, it's threatening all sorts of crazy implications, including that basically, Anthropic's technology would be banned from declared a supply chain risk, which would have some pretty serious implications. The news hot off the presses here is that OpenAI also is basically drawing a red line in the sand and saying they too have some concerns about how their technology would be used. And as we report today in a story that just published, not only is OpenAI concerned about it, but Google probably will also have some concerns. Certainly, there's discussion internally and employees advocating that the company take a stand similar to the one that Anthropic's taken.
And so, what do you? How do you think this inevitably plays out? That now that other players, other than Anthropic, are starting to voice their concerns, what's your best guess on how this plays out, and what the reaction is from the government?
I mean, it's it's tough to say. I mean, on the one hand, Anthropic's technology seems really good, and the Department of War wants it. So you kind of wonder if the two sides might not reach some kind of compromise, or at least start to communicate a little bit better about how Anthropic's technology might be used in kind of warfare settings. It feels like, I mean, first of all, there's bad blood between Anthropic and the Trump administration that predates what's going on with the Department of War, and you get the sense that maybe this is partly about that. It's not just about this specific thing, but there's this sort of accumulation of bad blood between the two sides. Maybe the two sides just sort of cool off. Department of War realizes it needs Anthropic, and they come to some kind of agreement. I mean, but it could get really ugly. I mean, that's the other thing, and all bets are off for what that might mean for Anthropic.
Well, Martin, the thing that I've been thinking about is this is kind of interesting because we have Anthropic and OpenAI who are very much rivals here, and the two CEOs they won't even sounds weird to say they won't even hold hands in public gatherings where they're asked to. But the unity here of the AI sector against this, I think, is something noteworthy here. I think.
Right. Well, I think all of them need to be able to hire the engineers, and I think it's the engineers who are the ones who, went to work for AI because they wanted to, find cures for cancer or other good things. And I think they don't like the idea of using AI for killing people. What I'm surprised about is that I wouldn't have thought anyone would believe that the AI was reliable enough to be used for those kind of purposes, which seem to be an issue that maybe will get some discussion in the next few days.
Nick, last question for you: have we seen any conflict like this play out with other types of technology? I mean, I'm thinking about, the cloud sector and when that was coming into fruition. Certainly the internet as a whole. I mean, have we seen any version of the story play out before?
Well, it wasn't that long ago that there was a big movement inside Google over this is kind of the 2018 timeframe, if I'm remembering correctly, over something called Project Maven that was kind of a precursor to this debate. Basically, Google backed off and decided not to renew a contract with the Pentagon over that. Employees were very animated about their feelings. They didn't want technologies they were working on to be used in kind of these war settings. And um, and since then, I think we've really seen, for a variety of reasons, a shift in the balance of power away from employees inside technology companies, employee activists specifically. We've seen companies, employers being much more resistant to, petitions, protests, things like that. But the tension really hasn't gone away. There's still plenty of strong feelings inside these tech companies among the workforces about how their technologies are used. And Anthropic is really, kind of carrying that torch forward. So I don't think we've ever seen a showdown like this exactly between a government agency, a government department, and a tech company. That's really unprecedented.
Great. Well, Nick and Martin, I want to thank you for both for coming on. That is Nick Wingfield, our features editor, and Martin Pierce, our co-executive editor here at The Information.